Hello, welcome to the talk segment of our show, AM Talk, where we talk about some of the big happenings in our country. Today, quickly, let me introduce two of our members of parliament joining us via Zoom for this conversation. First is Alhassan Suhuyini, he's member of parliament for Tamale North. A very good morning to you, if you can hear me. Okay, also joining us is Andrew Kofi Ejapa-Mensah, MP for Second D constituency in the Western region. Good morning to you, Mr. Ejapa-Mensah.
Good morning, Mamari. How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm well, great.
Okay.
So, good.
Let me try and see if Alhassan Suhuyini can hear me now. Hello, good morning to you. Mr. Suhuyini? Okay, he isn't with us yet, but I can start with you, Mr. Ejapa-Mensah. You joined the 7th Parliament. In fact, both of you joined the 7th Parliament. So as we're beginning to wrap up things, I want to ask how the experience has been for you.
Mamadi, was the question directed at me?
Yes, sir.
You're not very clear, so I would please ask that.
Okay, so let's do it again. I was just reminding our viewers that you joined the 7th Parliament. That's now taking a break for the elections. So just for you to share your experience being in this Parliament.
Well, let me say good morning to our cherished viewers, to your good self and my very good friend, Alhassan. 7th Parliament. I guess it's been exciting. It's been pretty eventful. I've gotten to learn new things. I've gotten to make new friends. Of course, Alhassan Suhuyini and I did not know each other before we went to Parliament. You know, listening to him on radio was one of my most disliked persons, together with Sam George and co.
Did you say disliked persons?
We've grown to become good friends. Very, very, very good friends, if you ask me. And I guess that the work in Parliament itself has been an eye-opener, participating in shaping policy, making laws, contributing to debates was pretty good. I guess that if you look at it from the lenses of history, then clearly it gives you some joy that when the annals of the history of our country is written post you, then your name would be, ingrained somewhere with some contribution that you made in building our nation. And so, by and large, I guess that it's not something that I've regretted, except that sometimes when the constituency pressure mounts and the allegations that are obviously unfounded, when your name resembles another name that is engaged in another transaction and it's attributed to your person, it gets to you sometimes, because we're all human, and so, but beyond that, I guess that it's been a worthwhile experience.
Have you been personally linked?
That the good rule of secondary.
I was just going to ask, have you been personally linked because your name is Ejapa to the Ejapa royalties deal?
Absolutely. You hear the accusations on social media, and even on the day that we were debating the transaction, Honorable Muntaka, the minority chief whip, deliberately raised the point of order and suggested to the speaker to inquire from me whether I had any relationship to the transaction. But of course, I mean, that obviously is not the case. And so sometimes you just have to take it in your stride, knowing that, hey, in this game, every attempt to be made to, break you some way, somehow. And so you just have to keep your focus and do what you have to do.
Let's see if Alhassan Suhuyini can hear me now, Member of Parliament for Tamale North. A very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mama V. I can hear you. Thank you very much. And good morning to my very good friend, Andrew.
He said he didn't like you very much when you're on radio, but you guys have become friends now that you're in Parliament.
You know, Mama V, it doesn't come to me as a surprise at all. I mean, one of the difficult, things I faced when I went to Parliament was the dislike of my previous role as a host on a radio station that the NPP hardly listened to because, obviously, like you said, they didn't like the station. And so many of their notions about those of us who worked there were based on hearsay and reported speeches. And so it was very difficult, having to deal with people who had a prejudice mind against you, not based on what they really, really have listened to or actually interacted with you upon, but just based on the politics and propaganda, if I may say. But over the period, I mean, we have come to know ourselves better. And I will say that it's been an exciting learning experience. And we're looking forward to, more days and years in the House. I wish my brother the very best of luck, even as my party works very hard, to take the seat from him. I still wish him the very best of luck. I'll be happy if we win it, but I'll miss him if he's not in the next Parliament. But I think that we are all looking forward to many more, years in the House to see how we can collaborate and work together, disagree when we have to, and, agree when we have to, all in the interest of, contributing our quota to the betterment of this country. I mean, we are not going to be here forever. Some people were here before us. Others will also come after us. And so it's important that as we have this opportunity, we focus more on also doing the very best that we can to improving things and not leaving them worse than we came to meet. I think that it's been an exciting learning experience for many of us who were first-timers, and especially considering the imbalance in the numbers between the majority and the minority. I mean, this is the first time, maybe I will say after 96, this may be the first time that you have an absolute, something that seemed like an absolute majority, in the House. And so it was quite difficult for us in the minority to be able to be heard, even though it is said that in a democracy, the minority will always have their say and the majority will have their way. But when the numbers are so skewed in the manner that it is skewed in this 7th Parliament, even if you don't take minority, you will not be heard. If you don't take your time as a minority, you will not be heard. And so we had to struggle to be heard, to make the points that we had to make, sometimes forcefully, and through the magnanimity of some of the members of the majority, I'm sure that we were able to chalk a number of success. And also through our own hard work, we're able to chalk a number of success. And I must commend the media also for, supporting some of our causes. I wish they had done more, but we cannot fail to acknowledge the fact that they supported some of our causes and made it easier for us to be heard. And I just pray that the next Parliament will be better in terms of quality, in terms of numbers on our side, and in terms of, the whole parliamentary practice. It's going to be better. It's my hope and prayer that it's going to be better.
I have to ask, this Parliament is not entirely closed because you're going to be back after the 7th December polls, but the Electoral Commission appeared before Parliament on Saturday. I want us to spend a bit of time talking about her presentation. This was a roadmap for peace, for a peaceful, credible, and transparent election. So I wonder if there are any reservations about what the chairperson of the Electoral Commission presented to Parliament. And I'll start with you, Alhassan Suhuyini, on this, because you're obviously with the minority.
Well, before that, on a lighter note, my brother and friend was complaining about the JAPA deal and how it is associated with his name. I say that it's only what they call failure that's an orphan. Everybody would like something that is glittering and successful to be associated with his or her name. So if he's not too happy that it's associated with his name, there may be question marks there. But I was actually surprised. And if he heard me on the floor of the House on that day, that he was the person to second the motion when it was moved on the floor. I thought it was not politically strategic on his part, given the fact that, his name was closely linked, not by way of action, but just by way of, the destiny that he was named the Japa.
But Alhassan, I mean, you and I know that I do not hold intellectual property rights over the name Ejapa.
No, but what I'm saying is that if you had me on the floor, if you had me on the floor the day, when you were on your feet to second the motion, I thought it was
I heard you loud and clear.
Yes, I thought it was not strategic for you because it was too easy for any mischief maker to link you to the Ejapa.
Well, the facts are the facts. You get what I mean? And I strongly believed in the proposition that had been submitted by government
at the time.
And I still strongly believe in it.
Oh.
Okay, that the monetization of our mineral royalties was going to inure to the benefit of our country, and so
no doubt. Yes. I think it's a position that we all share, that it is good that we monetize, the mineral royalties that we can. But the process and the vehicle that is used for the monetization is what has raised these questions. And I think that somehow the special prosecutor's letter is still in circulation and we may all have to study it. But let me answer your question, Mama V, on the electoral commissioner. I first of all was shocked to hear her suggest that in 2020, nobody, maybe at the commission, expected COVID. And so there were no preparations as far as the activities of the Electoral Commission was concerned to deal with a possible outbreak of COVID. I was shocked when I heard that from her because, in fact, there's a reason why COVID is called COVID-19. I mean, by the latter part of 2019, the world knew that this virus was not going to be contained easily. And so anybody who was planning anybody who had activities in 2020 should have at least known that COVID, is a possibility. So that was my first, shock when she addressed Parliament and made the indication that they did not make any plans. They had no anticipation whatsoever that COVID was going to be a question to deal with in 2020. Then fast forward, you realize that I'm sure maybe based on that very naive preparation towards the elections of 2020, we have had to be stampeded to take decisions and actions that have left our electoral process seem like we are amateurs. In fact, we have been doing this since 1992. But if you look at the calendar and the activities that we are having to undertake this year before the elections, we don't seem like a mature democracy. We look like we are doing this for the first time. Even as we speak, we do not have complete registers. Yet we have filed as candidates to, stand elections.
But Mr. Suhuyini, isn't the process still ongoing because they're still printing the ballot papers?
That's the point I'm making. I am saying that in the past, we had our T's and I's.
Unfortunately, I think the connection there has gone bad. Alhassan Suhuyini talking, but let me just cross over and come to you, Andrew Ejapa-Mensah, on the EC's presentation to Parliament. Do you also have issues? But even before you go there, the Electoral Commissioner talked about the parties being given soft copies of the register. Do you have it as a party?
Well, I'm sure that the leadership of my party has it, and the constituency party would also have it. Of course, you know that we've been in Parliament until last Saturday. So in the week that the Electoral Commissioner was addressing Parliament on the Saturday, where she indicated that some soft copies had been made available to the party, I hadn't been to the constituency. So, you know, of course, we have a team that is working on matters like that. Because if you do not delegate some of these things, you get overwhelmed. So, but whatever it is, Mama V, if you check the records, okay, you would notice that in 2012, when the new biometric register was done, as of the time that we're filing our nominations, the final register was not ready. All the issues that our friends in the NDC have raised in 2020, you look in the statement that was issued by then chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Jacob Echebilampi, regarding the exhibition and the issues that led Mr. Mahama to suspend his campaign, were all articulated in 2012. And so to suggest that somebody is behaving amateurish because some of these things, we've held elections over and over and over again. And so, you know, because of that, incidents like this happening today, when in fact, it is clear that when new registers are compiled, it takes a little bit of time for it to be finalized. I really do not see what the issue of our friends in the NDC is. I was satisfied with the presentation that the Electoral Commissioner made. I wasn't surprised and shocked like my friend Alhassan regarding COVID, because Mamavi, you and I all live in this country. We know that, yes, subsequently we got to all know that this virus had been seen in Wuhan, but it was not on the scale that became what it was to the point of it being declared a global pandemic in 2020. Almighty America and almighty Europe, all the advanced countries were caught off guard. The Electoral Commission could not, under any circumstances, have known in 2019, when they were drawing up their timetable for 2020, that this global pandemic was going to occur. And so I wonder really what the point that my friends are making. Look, right from April 2019, when the Electoral Commission indicated that there was going to be a new biometric register and all that, that's when the noises began. We all heard the tape that my good friend Elvis Free Ankara made that went viral, and the kind of comments, that's what was on there. And subsequently, the posture of the NDC, they opposed every activity that the Electoral Commission had outlined relative to the compilation of a new register. But we are where we are. The registration has been successfully completed. All the ugly noises that were made essentially came to naught. An exhibition has taken place around the same time that an exhibition took place in 2012. And we are on course to hold an election. I am only hoping that we all approach this election with the peace that we all deserve as a people. Take it as not being an activity that is a do or die one, that would allow the good people of this country to choose who their leadership would be in 2020. Okay. And whatever the outcome is, we will accept it and move forward together as one people, because the distinction that people will have to make, is pretty obvious to me. And I guess that the good people of Ghana will do the needful on 7 December. And we should assure them that we as political actors would at all times be peace-abiding, will be law-abiding, we would seek the best interests of Ghanaians, and that the outcome of the election will be accepted by all of us, so that Of course, if we do not even accept it, that will not degenerate into violence, that will use legal means to vindicate our position rather than violence, because Mavi, this is the only country that we have. And I think that we ought to do whatever it takes to protect its integrity, so that going forward, we can all together build a country for our next generation.
Okay, great. We've just lost Alhassan Suhuyini there. We're still trying to establish the connection. So, oh, you're there. Okay, now good to have you back.
Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't quite make your point, but I just want to ask you, those soft copies that the Electoral Commissioner was talking about, do you have it as a party, the NDC?
Well, like my friend said, I'm also, I've been away from the constituency for, I think, about 4 or 5 days now. The address was just on Saturday. So we're told that we could find some of the, the register for the special voters, for example, online. That's what I've been working on with my team. We did find them online. But you see, it doesn't take away the point that I made earlier about us approaching this election as if we're amateurs. I mean, things that should have been done long before now, if they are now being done, it does not speak well of us to justify it with 2012 experience, because after 2012, we all came together. In fact, political parties and civil society organizations came together to agree that certain things needed not to be done in an election year, because it adds to the tension, it makes preparation more difficult. And so for us to repeat the same things and justify them because they happened in 2012 seem like we are not learning from our past and our experiences. So the point that has been made, and anybody who has been an election observer over the period will tell you that our approach to this election has appeared more ad hoc than any other election that we have had in the past, especially coming from activities outlined by the Electoral Commission. And so I just think that we have to continue to pray for, God's grace and also be vigilant, in every way possible, whether you are a voter, whether you are an activist, or just a Ghanaian who wants the best for this country. Because you see, there is a saying in Dagbani that blood spilled from the head eventually touches the neck. So if you are just a Ghanaian who is concerned about the peace of this country, so that you can go about your business and your life in a very peaceful manner, there's a need for you to also show some vigilance, exhibit some vigilance as far as the process is concerned, so that we can all safeguard the process to give us an outcome that will be very difficult for anybody to challenge and use as basis to create confusion. So it is important that even as we express our misgivings about the way the new electoral commissioners have handled this year's election, it is important that we remain prayerful and vigilant at all times, so that the outcome will serve the interest of this country and all Ghanaians.
Okay, just a minute for the two of you on the call by the NCCE, that the multiple and exceptions lists that the Electoral Commissioner talked about, the over 30,000 voters on that list, should be made available to the public. I don't know what your take on it is, or what you said to the Electoral Commission if you had the opportunity to say something to the EC when the Commissioner came to Parliament on Saturday.
Well, we demanded that it be made public. We raised issues with it because as we speak, it is even very difficult to tell who is on that list. Maybe you may just be on that list without knowing, because we're told by the Electoral Commissioner that they have tried calling some of them. They haven't been successful at reaching them. We do not even understand the basis upon which such people were put on that list. Because, I mean, the whole process has just been that chaotic. I mean, the explanation that some people were registered offline and so they could not be captured on the register,
so
they will be allowed to vote.
Let me supply a little bit of explanation. They've explained that some of them engaged in multiple registration, others various illegal practices, including underage voting and voting by non-Ghanaians.
That's the point I'm making. So these are various ways through which one could be on that register. So it is not too clear what the process was to get them on this register, on this list of people who may not be allowed to register. As for registering as an underage person or a non-Ghanaian, there are processes involved. And some of these processes that have been used have led to situations where people proved that they were indeed Ghanaians and they were entitled to register. And so they registered. And they were indeed of voting age. And so the Electoral Commissioner or the Electoral Commission was wrong to have suggested that they are not, eligible to register. So it tells you that the position of the Electoral Commission as far as the eligibility of a voter is concerned is not sacrosanct. It is subject to challenge, and some of the challenges in the past have proven to be the right position. So it is not just enough for the Electoral Commission to compile this list and tell us this is the reason why they have compiled the list without any proof that those people have come to challenge the reasons and have not been able to overturn those reasons. And I'm saying we are, in the situation that we are in because of the amateurish way that we have approached this election. But we have gone past that. And that is why I'm saying that it will require vigilance, it will require prayer for us to ensure that the outcome in the end still serves all of us.
Okay. Mr. Japamesa.
That we can still focus on the very important things that we do.
Okay, great. Japamesa, this list should be made public.
Yes, I always support any call for transparency. And so if the EC, per their own indication, have a certain list that they classify as exceptions list, it may be useful to put it out there so that people can go and verify whether their names are on there or not. But of course, I guess that was the whole essence of the exhibition exercise, to afford people an opportunity to make a determination whether their name was not on the register. If there were some errors that were contained on there, and to afford them an opportunity to make a case why their name ought to be on there, or to correct whatever corrections that they needed to effect. You see, this needless suspicion that the EC is doing something that is intended to disenfranchise others ought to be nipped in the bud, because look, it doesn't help the conversation. Alhassan Suhuyini, you and I, we've engaged in an election. We know how elections are won at the polling stations. I'm sure you are training your agents as we speak, because I am. And the results at every polling station, because of the Abu Ramadan cases, would be posted there at the polling station.
Yeah, but Mr. Japamesa, if your name is not on the list, you can't even go through the process that you're talking about.
No, I agree. But so that's why I agreed with you that if the list ought to be made public, by all means, so that people, the 30,000 or so odd people whose names have been deleted from the main register because of some infraction or the other, can't get to know that their names are not on there before elections day. I agree. But I'm saying that exceptions list, multiple register list, is not new. Okay? And so let it not be said that the Electoral Commission of today has introduced something new into our electoral process that is intended to disenfranchise others. Go back to 2012, all the times that we've done the voters register, whether there were no exceptions lists that were compiled. Because when you put the data together and people have effected multiple registrations, those names will be identified. okay? And there are sanctions that are attached to the infractions on electoral rules.
Okay.
I
didn't want us to spend all the time on this